Surprise, mother. Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here with Shughead Gaming, bringing you my review for In Death, developed by Soulfire Studios, and while this is currently available on various PSVR platforms, this review will of course be on the PSVR version, and reviewed on the PS4 Pro. In Death releases November 27th for an estimated price of $30, but of course that depends on your region. In Death, created exclusively for VR, is a roguelike shooter set in the godless afterlife. Battle through procedurally generated levels and dungeons in intense ranged combat, coupled with a unique locomotion system perfectly attuned to your fighting style. In Death is a very highly rated game coming from the PC VR platforms, but how did the PSVR version port over? Let's find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing, and for video updates, hit that bell icon. Of course, if you want to see more PSVR news and info, check Shughead Gaming out on Twitter and Facebook. As always, graphics are up first. In Death is a fantastic looking game, plain and simple, and honestly, we have rarely seen graphics this good on the PSVR unless they were coming from a large studio and backed by Sony in one way or another. So I was pleasantly stunned when first stepping a foot into the dreamlike medieval world of In Death. When playing In Death, I was immediately reminded of the recent PSVR roguelike adventure Trickster VR. In Death, with its procedurally generated levels up in the clouds, has a striking resemblance to Trickster's level layout. However, In Death also borrows heavily from the Dark Souls gothic medieval aesthetic in the best way possible, and as such comes off more like Trickster's older and much more refined big brother. In Death's draw distance is stunning in the headset, and along with some brilliant texture fade-in, manages to keep everything looking fantastic, either up close or far off. Sure, if you look really close, you can see a few chinks in the armor, with a slight touch of texture drop-off being seen a bit too close, and some textures coming off a bit blurry, but as a whole, this game is gorgeous in a way we rarely see on the PSVR. Anti-aliasing here is also in top form, as the game world is almost void of jagged edges on the Pro. At the time of writing this, I'm not sure what Pro support, if any, is being utilized, but I would be shocked if it wasn't to help provide such a crisp presentation with this level of detail in the world. Enemy NPCs again borrowed heavily from the Souls series playbook, animate well, and look amazing from either afar or up close as they lunge at your face. Lighting effects in Magic and Flames looks convincingly decent, however the lighting engine does not appear to be very robust beyond that of a few effects and some basic shading. This isn't surprising given that something had to give to provide the draw distance, texture detail, and sharpness seen throughout. As a result, parts of the levels are usually dimly lit or bright, with very little happening in between. This doesn't help the slightly generic and repetitive nature of the game's single procedurally generated environment, but if this was the trade-off for the rest of the graphics on display in Death, I really have no complaints. Sound is up next. The comparisons continue with the Dark Souls series as we look at the sound mix. With its Gregorian chant musical score running throughout and the grunts and foot soldier sounds taken right out of the Souls playbook, In Death definitely fills the soundscape with the same medieval gothic vibe the graphics bring visually. 3D audio is also put to good use here, with the sound of arrows zipping by your head along with enemy placement being some real highlights, and making combat intuitive and fun. Across the board, sound effects are top-notch and really complement the quality we see on the visual side of things. I simply never tired of the bow release and impact sounds when firing off arrows into an enemy's head, or the satisfying ping when using your shield to deflect incoming projectiles. If there was any complaint to be had of In Death's audio, it would be the same one lodged against its visuals, in that there simply could be more variation to what already is on offer and done so well. Wanting more is always a good thing, but here it would definitely have helped with the Groundhog Day effect roguelike games, In Death included, tend to fall victim to. And that brings us to gameplay. Okay, let's get the negative out of the way since it really isn't that much. Roguelike games with their penchant for procedurally generated levels and their ingrained nature of try, fail, and repeat often do suffer a bit from the previously mentioned Groundhog Day effect, or video game deja vu if you will. And like the fantastic PSVR game The Persistence, its style may not be for everyone. In Death isn't really helped by the fact that it takes place entirely over one environment, albeit an ever-changing one. Monotony could set in for some, and I feared it would for me as well, but holy crap, this game got its claws in me and quickly became one of my more recent favorite PSVR games. The premise is simple. Inspired by classic roguelike dungeon crawlers, In Death pays homage to the merciless genre favored by hardcore gamers and those who love the challenge found in the more recent Souls-like games. With no save points, each procedurally generated run is randomly generated, with unique map layout and enemy placement, as well as loot spawn points. Game progression is driven by an achievement system that persists across each run and scales the difficulty level of the game in conjunction with your mastery of it. Each new life sees you begin anew in the world of Sanctuary, with your bow or eventually unlocked crossbow, and nothing but the learned experience of deaths from before. Locomotion in Death tries to bring some innovation to the VR table with the creative use of the teleportation feature. Here, teleportation is controlled by that of a teleportation arrow, and is less of a comfort setting and more of a combat tactic. For once I realized I was able to pop in and out of combat, then quickly shoot up onto the roof for the high ground. I found the optional smooth movement to be less and less preferred. This, when combined with the teleport shard for quick and dirty fallbacks, and the movement system begins to become second nature. Strafing is controlled by either your head movement or bow movement, and becomes quite useful for dodging incoming arrow barrages from attacking archers. In addition, you are armed with your trusty shield, which becomes absolutely necessary for blocking the increasing firepower of flying arrows, axes, and magic, and also makes a great club for charging combatants. And then there is the combat. As a primarily archery-based game, In Death easily stands toe-to-toe with the best of the best in VR archery shooters, and very well could be the best so far. Its combination of great move tracking with challenging and realistic bow physics provides bow and arrow combat that is actually quite difficult at first, but oh so satisfying as you start to land headshots from 150 feet away. As you progress deeper and deeper into Sanctuary, you quickly realize that proper planning and pinpoint accuracy is the only way to survive past the 30-minute mark, especially when a single missed shot can easily mean death and starting all over again. This cruel and unforgiving challenge on its own could be frustrating, but once you realize that upon death you cash in your stats and begin to unlock and procure new achievements, the addiction sets in. For with each new accomplishment achievement, you unlock new and more powerful arrows, new abilities, and of course new and more formidable foes. Harder and harder challenges, better ammo, and of course boss fights await you, and yes, this game becomes your new master of just one more time. Enemy variety and behaviors will be instantly recognizable to fans of the Souls series, for most enemies can be seen standing and oblivious to your existence until you get too close or fire a wild arrow past their head. This oblivious pack mentality of enemies may seem odd to versions of the Souls series, but trust me when I say, be careful of poking the proverbial bear, because you might get more than what you bargained for. Also similar to the Souls game is the collection of loot upon death of enemies. Usually this comes in just the form of gold currency, but can also be power pickups in the form of new ammo and health. Earned gold is lost upon death, so must be strategically used when you come across a teleportation beam of light. Here you are greeted by a market of purchase choices to aid you on your way, but choose wisely as prices aren't cheap. In Death can be played with either the DS4 controller or two Move controllers. Movement mechanics are the same across both, but for me, the whole fun of In Death was learning and mastering the bow mechanics. Yes, like other archery-based games, sometimes the tracking of the arm you pull back can be conflicted with the headset, making for some wonky shots. But here, with In Death's excellent and polished tracking, combined with a much appreciated calibration approval setting, shooting arrows on PSVR has rarely ever been done so well. Motion sickness should be at a minimum, as players can choose to turn smooth movement off completely, and unfortunately click turning is mandatory. Replay value will honestly be based on your patience with this style of game, but I can tell you that even after 6 hours of gameplay, I have only managed to survive a total of 45 minutes, have seen no sign of an ending, and continue to unlock new and valuable achievements, for which I still have maybe 45% left to unlock. The desire to jump back in is strong, and for leaderboard chasers, you will have the added draw of the giant leaderboard at the beginning of each round, taunting you with others' higher scores. And finally, that brings us to fun factor and my final review. Guys, I am rarely surprised by a game. I am the type that typically researches and obsesses about new and upcoming releases and knows pretty much exactly what to expect before diving in. In Death completely caught me off guard, as even though it has great reviews on PSVR, I was completely sideswiped by the awesomeness that it is this game. In Death's biggest flaw is that I just wish there was more of it. I wish it was a deeper and more robust game, filled with more level variation and perhaps some melee combat thrown in to complement the whole package. That being said, well, maybe being a bit single-minded, what is here is brilliant, addicting, and so much damn fun. As you know, I rate games on a basis of buy, wait for a sale, or burn it to the ground. At $30, In Death might be a touch steep for some, considering the single-level nature of this game. But for me, the challenge, fun factor, and overall polish makes this a must-buy and one of the surprise favorites of PSVR this year. If you are a fan of roguelite games or the Souls series, this is an absolute no-brainer. Others may not enjoy the hardcore and punishing nature of this style of game, but I think you should still consider giving this game a go, even if it is not until it's on sale. This game is awesome. That's it for me, guys. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for updates, hit that bell icon. Of course, if you want to see more PSVR news and info, check out Shughead Gaming on Twitter and Facebook. I'll catch you guys on my next video.